Hi everyone, I'm DrJJ Whicker.
And I'm Dr. Lindsey Tubaugh, and today we're going to be discussing a really great topic, a bit of a hot topic, I would say.
It is a hot topic.
Yeah, about the choices that you have as a parent when you have a child who's born
Deaf or hard of hearing.
Deaf or hard of hearing. There are choices that you have, and all of them are valid depending on what you're hoping for your child. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But first, I just want to say that if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to our channel and push the little bell so that you can get notifications when new content comes out. So, DrJJ.
Yeah, so choices, and what we mean by choices usually is just about choosing the mode of communication for your child if you identify a difference in hearing. And the reason why this is a hot topic is because there is a really strong history and culture behind deafness. And there's a language involved, and many of us know it as American Sign Language here in the United States, but actually there's a variety of I think that the term is visual languages, meaning that you have something to look at to communicate. It's usually your hands, right? But there's a wide range of options for learning how to communicate. And so when we're talking about the hot topic part, usually it's about deciding between American Sign Language or spoken language. And people can get kind of defensive about this. And so, of course, as we're talking about this, we're going to share our thoughts and feelings, but there's no way us trying to tell parents what to do. I think we should preface that. And also, if you're going to engage with us and comment, we hope that your thoughts can be helpful rather than inflaming in any way, especially towards other people who are guests also commenting. But
yeah, because you're definitely going to find people that believe that if a child is born deaf, they should be part of the big D deaf culture. And then there are people that believe that if a child's born deaf, they should have everything available to them to be able to hear. But really, either one of those is a valid choice. And like DrJJ said, it really depends on what outcome you're hoping for your child.
Right.
I remember at Utah State in my undergraduate studies, I took, when I was doing American Sign Language courses, watching a movie, I believe it was called Sound and Fury.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, and it portrayed the audiologist as kind of the bad guy. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, audiologists have been kind of the bad guy, but please remember and be respectful that not all audiologists are lumped together. Some audiologists still do believe that any child should be fitted with a cochlear implant or hearing aids. And some audiologists are very pro-choice, so to speak, in that it's really up to the family to decide if a child's going to be fitted with amplification versus going the deaf culture ASL route. One thing I will say that maybe gets audiologists to push audibility is that if you don't choose audibility from the beginning, it's harder to choose that in the future. So that's something that we can talk about a little bit, but I'm gonna let you talk about your experiences.
Well, yeah, and you know, I just to build off of that, it's again thinking about what are your values, both as the parent and then also as an audiologist. But usually, you know, the idea is that the audiologist will follow the family lead, and so most times, you know, the statistics are out there. So 92, I think, % of deaf children are born to hearing parents, where the culture in the family is hearing, and that's how people communicate is by using spoken language. And so so the choice can be really hard because there are a lot of factors that play into making that decision, because a lot of parents might be 100% interested in their child learning to communicate using American Sign Language. But they're hearing and they're used to speaking and they don't know American Sign Language. And the thing to understand about American Sign Language that I think is a common misperception out there is that it really is a language. It has its own grammar structure. It has different kinds of vocabulary. And so when you're making the choice to learn American Sign Language for your child to use fluently, you kind of have to become fluent yourself.
Absolutely.
And you know, that's where, again, this family values things come into place. Because, well, what are your goals for your child? Do you want them to be able to communicate fluently and efficiently? And if you choose either spoken language or a visual language, you need to understand that you also need to become fluent and efficient, because your child is probably going to be about as fluent as you are, given that they're learning language primarily in the home. And so I think that, you know, that's kind of like the umbrella dilemma that you have to think about. But then there are all sorts of other sort of caveats that fall into that, you know, about, you know, your access to resources. Do you, again, have your own personal connection to deaf culture versus hearing culture? And it can be a big deal. And like the hard thing for anyone really who's hearing is that we don't know what it is to be deaf. And I think that that's a really big key. And I love seeing a lot of deaf audiologists out there becoming a bit more vocal about this topic, because it helps to kind of give a perspective that we ourselves can't connect with, because both you and I are hearing. We both have only hearing children, and we're working with parents who are hearing, and so it's hard. Like we have this like triple whammy of like we're all hearing, that's what we know, that's what we typically do, and so it kind of comes down to how much are we able to talk about these other modes of communication. And so I feel like that plays a big role as well. Yeah,
and I think the one of the take-home messages really is that if you do have a child that was recently diagnosed as deaf or hard of hearing, knowing that you have options, and just reaching out to people who can speak to that, and who are vocal about that, and looking at the different options, and then making the decision for what's right for you and what's right for your family, and then sticking to it. I think that's and owning it, because regardless of what you choose, there's going to be somebody on the other side saying that you should have done the other thing.
Always, there's always going to be someone who disagrees, but that's where it kind of owning your decision comes into play, because I've at the same time worked with children, and I'm sure you have too, where the family was just kind of back and forth about their decision. And so the impact there is that, you know, the family at first chose American Sign Language, which awesome, but they didn't put in the time and effort to learn it for themselves. And so the exposure to language that the child was getting was very minimal. And then they realized that burden and changed a couple, you know, they changed to spoken language. And so the hearing intervention part was a little bit delayed, and it definitely can show in the children if they've kind of gotten those back and forth communication modes. It's important to, I think, pick one and become as good at it as you can and expose your child. It's about exposure to language. There's a huge history and research base of the impacts of when you don't have a language, whether it be spoken or communicated. And it's a really sad, dark history that I don't feel expert talking about, but you should look it up. History of non-exposure to language, it can be bad.
And let's not downplay how much pressure this is on parents. I mean, they've just had a child, they've just gotten a diagnosis, and now they're trying to weigh all of these options. It is a big burden. It is very emotional, trying to feel like the pressure of the world is on you. But there are resources, and you can reach out to pediatric audiologists, Department of Health, Schools for the Deaf and Blind. There are definitely people that you can talk to get a well-rounded picture of what the options are, so that you can make a decision for your child that makes the most sense to you.
And depending on the decision that you make at the early hearing detection intervention level, or the early intervention level, meaning the services that the state provides for free, you can get a lot of resources there too, in terms of parent coaches, deaf coaches, things like that. So.
And both JJ and I have worked with children who have gone, obviously, because we're pediatric audiologists, who've gone the hearing route because they want spoken language, and the families have chosen that route for them. What has been heartbreaking for me is the times when a child does come as a 17-year-old who has only been exposed to a visual language, and then decides that they want auditory, to have more auditory stimuli. And at that point, it's a little late for them to really be able to hear sounds in a normal way. And so because kind of how we've been discussing in previous videos, when you don't have that stimuli in the brain, those connections
it just changes what the rehabilitation, like the adjustment to sound can look like.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, but we are here to support you in any decision that you make, and we fully support any of the choices that are available. So hope this helps.
Yeah. And if you have questions about specific resources, we have them, and we can share links in the comments.
Yeah.
If you want, just reach out, let us know. But be sure to like and subscribe to our channel, and click your notification bell so that you can see when more of our information comes out to share with the world. And at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a link to our website. Feel free to check us out. Otherwise, have a good day.
Bye, everyone.